You're listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist, my personal journey of root work, faith, and ancestral wisdom. I'm the creator and host, Chelsea Von Chaz. This is where I honor the ones that came before me and share what's been passed down, plus walk you through my experiences of being unapologetically aligned, covered by spirit, guided by blood. I have a really special guest today because I have been waiting to talk to them to spill so much intellectual tea, okay? But let me get into the bio really quick because I can't wait. I have Jen M. Jackson with me, a Black abolitionist, writer, organizer, and correct me if I'm wrong. Are you still an assistant professor of political science at Syracuse University? Still? Ooh.
Yes.
Listen, okay. Plus, in addition to that, because that's a whole nother career, a whole nother ballgame. But in addition to that, their first book, Black Women Taught Us, is an intimate intellectual and political history of Black women's activism and thought, tracing how Black women have shaped movements for justice. Jen's interdisciplinary work spans Black politics, Black politics, racial trauma, gender and sexuality, and social movements. They are also a columnist and co-host of That Black Couple and the podcast We Publish, Beloved, where Black and queer voices claim space and tell truth. Jen!
This is so exciting. I'm so excited to say something now that we're on air.
Yes.
I definitely had like a little crush on you and then saw that you had a whole man. And I was like, oh, 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 so sad.
Okay, wait a minute, because let me say, do crushes have to end when it's like, can crushes be like, does it have to be straight up romantic? Do crushes
No,
really have to end when you find out like
no,
this person has a person? Because like it's okay, great. Because
no.
I'm
I
like,
think
wait, my crushes still be going.
I have so many crushes on people. Most of my crushes are on people who I have no romantic interest in. It's like
Got it.
intellectual crushes. Most of my crushes are not romantic because I don't like. It takes a lot for me to actually be attracted to someone. But I'm like,
Got it.
oh my gosh, you're so smart and so cool. Oh my gosh, and then I have a crush. I'm like, But I was disappointed you had a man because I was like, ah, you're not one of us. It was one of those. I was like, oh man. It was more like that. Oh,
There's
just
no
to tell you that on
respect.
air.
I love it. It's an honor. It's still an honor. It's still an honor, okay? And yes, like you have no idea, or maybe, like the disappointment I see in people's faces when they're like, I thought you was family.
I thought she was, yeah, I definitely thought she was one of us. And I
I
was
thought
like,
you was queer. And it's
yeah,
like, but
you're
listen,
being queer coded.
I'm a accomplice. So all the things y'all want to do, I am here for it, okay? So just let me know. I'm here to
Yeah.
listen, to be educated, okay, and use me. Amen.
Amen. Come on.
Seriously. But listen, how are you? First, yes, please let me know how you're doing.
I want to say I'm well. The world is literally on fire and I'm a political scientist. And so I know more than I would like to know, like
Yeah.
some of those things where, because I read a lot and I have to pay attention for my job,
Mm-hmm.
mm, you know, I find myself wanting to escape reality,
Yeah.
but there are many ways that I cannot do that. I have students, I mentor folks, and so I have a responsibility to show up in particular ways that force me to engage
Okay.
with the world. But I think despite all of that, I've moved to Maryland. I live in a place that I love, around people who I love. I've built an incredible community here. And now that I'm post 40, I've learned to stop trying to fit myself into spaces where I don't belong. I'm not trying to pull up a chair to somebody else's table anymore. Like I'm very good
Mm-hmm.
about like, well, I'm in the wrong room. And so I'm finding those rooms now where people are excited to bring me in, like spaces like this where people are excited to talk to
Mm-hmm.
me. So that is keeping me well. Like that is healing and restorative for me. So when I say well, I'm not saying that I'm not aware of the state of the world, but I am finding really healthy ways to navigate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How are you?
I love that. I'm happy. Happy is my state of emotion as far as physical state, I'm a little tired. I had a really long week last week. I'm in LA. It was Grammy week. My best
Mm.
friend won his first Grammy. So that was just
Are we
like,
talking about Duran?
yes,
Child,
won his first Grammy.
do you
First
know my
Grammy.
proximity to this man is ridiculous. My degrees of separation to him are just smaller and smaller. I was supposed to meet him like 3 or 4 years ago at a friend's event.
Mhm.
Another one of my friends is really close friends with him.
Okay.
And so I've been trying to meet this. I am obsessed. Now, this is a crush I have that's a real crush. I love that little fine man. I'm just like, "Ooh, I would just unlesbian for you." I really would. Ooh, the fine
But
man.
here's tea that's also like, because
Mm,
I think there is confusion. I think it's funny when, because what y'all have in common, y'all don't want to be boxed in to nobody label,
I
like
love that.
y'all do not want to be boxed in. So it's like my baby is
I know.
transparency.
I
So it's
know.
like you don't have to change being a lesbian,
Oh,
being queer or what, you know what I'm saying?
I know this.
Like the they, them, cousins, the girls, all queens
That's why I like
can
him.
get it.
That's why I like him. That's
So it's like,
why I like him. You know, we have
yeah,
that in
no.
common. You know, I'm a lesbian, but I love me some queer folk. It's just something
Mhm,
about
mhm.
folks who play with gender and
Yes,
sexuality and fluidity. I've always been so drawn to other folks who navigate that liminal space. And
yes,
he does it so well. It's just
yes. No, it's always funny because he's like, "Who told these people I was gay? Like, where are they getting their
no.
information from?"
And he looked like he smelled good. He looked like his skin is smooth. Anyway,
Yes, yes,
let's not
yes.
digress.
No, it's okay.
Let's be professional.
Yeah, it's okay. I love him. Yeah, we're so happy. We're
Mm.
taking like our days off, and we could finally breathe.
So you live in
Because
LA?
unfortunately,
Oh, I used to live in LA for a very long time.
I need to get out. It's getting get out.
Are you from LA?
No, I'm from Alabama originally, Mobile,
Okay, good,
Alabama. Okay.
good.
Everyone's always like, "But are you from there?" No, right?
Okay, good. Okay, good. That makes me feel better. You're a Southern Negro. That makes me
I'm a Southern Alabama girl,
Yes.
South Alabama girl
Come on.
in California.
Okay.
'Cause I'm always in different parts of California, but for the most part, like, I've lived in Southern California, like, LA County
I'm
has
from
been
Oakland, so
has
I
been
get
there.
it.
Okay, bet, bet. Oh, I
Born and
love
raised.
Oakland.
Born and raised.
Oakland's so black.
I was just there. I love going home.
Yes. Is that where you're from originally?
Born and
Bet,
raised. I was
bet.
born on MacArthur Boulevard at Kaiser Permanente Hospital,
Mm,
grew up at
mm.
Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church on West MacArthur Boulevard, went to
Well,
Oakland Technical High School with Marshawn Lynch. I'm from Oakland. Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow. It's such a spirit. I really feel it in my and I haven't done much research on this. It's more so from my experience, and I always like, feel it in my spirit how there's so much Southern hospitality. There's so much of like antebellum South in Oakland.
Yes,
Like mad ancestors, great
yes,
grands migrated over
yes,
and just settled in Oakland, and it's
yes.
still there. I can still feel it when I go visit. I still see it in people when they're like growing. Even in Kugler, Ryan Kugler, I still like see it. It's like him saying like his uncles, his family, aunties, great uncles like came from Mississippi is like that
It's
makes
right.
total sense.
That's how we all are, and I keep trying to tell people, they say, "Oh, you're from California," which I'll be eating avocados, and I'm like, I didn't
The
eat an avocado
disrespect,
until I left home. I didn't We don't have no avoca we didn't eat no avocados in Oakland. My grandma from Arkansas.
right?
All of our grandparents are from the South. Our grandparents, a lot of us who are born and raised in Oakland, are
Mm-hmm.
children of the Great Migration.
Yeah,
We are just like, folks from Chicago who can trace themselves back to the American South. So
yeah.
it's always so weird to me that people just think that in the Great Migration, people only went up. Like, I'm like, "No, they went
Mm-hmm.
west, boo, like, they went west. Come on, like, let's read the books. That's why
And
we have the green
stayed
book."
and didn't go nowhere, and
That's right.
their descendants are like their folks are still there,
Come on, you gonna sit here and tell me that
holding
somebody
it
eating
down.
avocados is ghost riding the whip? That don't even make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I want to know, you know what? Like, because so much of our engagement has been digital.
Mhm.
And I'm always like looking, well, when I do have the time to be online and to connect with people and to tap in like into their work. Congratulations on your book, by the way.
Thank you.
Because I know I understand from having other people in my life who are authors, like that's not no small feat.
No.
It's a lot of work
Yes.
and to be published, my goodness. So thank you. Congratulations. Because it's beautiful. I do want to get into the book because I think there's like political theory is clearly your bag.
Come on.
It's clearly your bag. So I feel like the book, my thoughts, like because I'm not finished, but I feel like from what I've been gathering, it insists. Where are my notes? Because I had like some notes. Insists that Black women's knowledge has always been like political theory
That's right.
or like some type of center point. Can you share a moment,
Yeah.
whether it's like a personal or historical moment, where you realize Black women weren't just participants in movement, but the architects?
Yeah, I mean, I have to always give both the personal and the, like, kind of larger
Mhm.
political. I was just home last weekend, and I went back to my childhood church, and the book starts off talking about my auntie Donna Faye, who is not my blood relative, but she my
Mhm.
auntie, right? She has been friends with my birth mother for half a century, you know? So she was friends with her before I was born, and she changed my diapers and, cleaned my nose when I was a child. And when I walked into church this past Sunday, to see her,
Mhm.
she was actually she was in the choir stand singing my favorite song. It's called "Thank You," and I talk about this in the book. And it was so meaningful to me because it reminded me of all the lessons that she in particular taught me growing up. And so I walked in the church and I saw her, and she saw me walk in, and she looked at me from the choir stand, and I did like this to her, and she did it
Mhm.
back while singing this song. And then after she was done, I ran up to the choir stand and hugged her. And I talked to her about, how important she was to me. Some of the things she used to tell me as a child, a very small child, because she's a taller woman. She's about 5'10", 5'11", and, has more masculine, as we would say in popular culture, masculine features.
Mhm.
And so as I was growing up in this very tall body, I'm 6'4", by the time I was 12, I was already 6'4" tall. And
Mm.
so she saw me navigating this larger masculine body, and she immediately started kind of teaching me these lessons about how to navigate my body. And at the time, as a young person, I just kind of was like, "Okay, auntie," right? Like, she always talked
Mhm.
about earrings and lipstick. This was her thing, earrings, nails, and lipstick. And even now as a gender fluid person, right? Like, today I was getting ready, I was like, "What I wanna let me put on some drag today. Imma do high heels for the girls today. Imma do high hem. It's Valentine's ti like, let's put some high,"
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I always think about my auntie Donna Faye, right? Because the lesson she was teaching me was thinking about my body and how I would present to the world, right? And what I would project to the world and what I want and how I wanted to show up.
Right.
And I think about that with respect to folks like Fannie Lou Hamer. And in the book, I have a chapter on Fannie Lou Hamer that talks about respectability, right? And I wanna take those 2 women and compare them because Fannie Lou was very much like, "I don't have to show up no kinda way for none of y'all," right? Like, I grew up poor, I grew up with no shoes on, there are people from where I come from, Mississippi, who ain't got no shoes now, right? And so I'm not gonna sit here on this podium, placating you white folk and performing for you white folk when you don't care about the poorest among us. And I think about, the everyday lessons of folks like my auntie Donna Faye and the everyday lessons of someone like Fannie Lou and how we often pedestalize folks like Fannie Lou. Like Fannie Lou wasn't somebody's auntie Donna Faye. You know what I'm saying? And so the book was important to me to articulate is to say, every Black woman in our life, right? Every queer person in our life, every Black, queer, trans, disabled person, a lot of us can't help, right? But usher new generations of folks into a way of being that will get them freer. And unfortunately, we don't always do the work of archiving and remembering and recognizing and honoring those folks. But I wanted to do that with this text. And I wanted to do that with folks like Auntie Donna Faye, right alongside the Angela Davises and the Audre Lordes and the Fannie Lou Hamers, because she's just as important to my Black feminist praxis and my self-understanding as someone like Fannie Lou.
Mhm. I think about Fannie Lou Hamer quite often, especially doing the work that I do with my organization. Because when I reach those hard times, it's always hard. Let me
Yeah,
not bullshit. It's always hard, whether it's just, fundraising, advocating, organizing, all every part of it is hard, even though the center point is menstruation, periods, menstrual equity. But I think about her often because I'm always wondering, like, wow, how did she do it emotionally,
yeah,
mentally? Like, how
yeah,
did she do it with so many people that probably was in her face, like, what are you doing? Just stop. You're making this harder for yourself. Look at you.
yeah,
Like, why like, it's she's a person I just think about often because and I really, through my spirituality, I really think about, like, how folks are the possibility of them being rewarded or, maybe they're being rewarded where they are for the work that they did
yeah,
when they were alive, and I just really hope that because she went through so much, and
yeah,
it's like, I just wish she didn't have to get to that point of going through all that nonsense just to simply live and make her life and the lives of others better. So I
yeah,
love the title of the book. Why did you go with that title? I mean, because it's perfect. It's simple. It's
yeah.
perfect because I mean, yeah, I'm forever being taught by Black
Mhm,
women before me, Black women that are still here that can smell their flowers, but I'm
mm,
forever being taught. They are my teachers. Black women are my teachers. I'm listening to
mhm,
Black women first, and
mhm.
sometimes only listening to them. You know what I mean? How did how did that title come to you, or was it something where it was like, no, this is my experience. Like I,
Yeah.
this is the perfect title for the book.
I will be honest, I've written a lot of books, and they're all sitting
Mhm.
on my drive somewhere, and
What?
yeah. And this was my first book, the first 2, my first academic book and this trade book. These are the only books where the titles have not changed. Like, I came up with the title, and this was the title, and I said, "This is the title." And this title came to me actually a lot of stuff comes to me in dreams. A lot of things come to me in
Mm,
dreams, and I was writing this early kind of proposal for the book for Penguin Random House, and I was struggling through the proposals because I had an agent at the time, a white woman, who really wanted me to write a book for white people. And I was like, I don't wanna write that. I don't wanna write that. And my editor was the one who said, "Hey, then don't." And I was like, "Thank you." Like, I needed that permission. And
yeah.
after she gave me that permission, it's like all these things started coming to me. And I was like, what do I wanna call this? I said, "What is this about?" And I would sleep and I had this dream about my grandmother, you know? It's always my grandmother. And it was, like, in church, and she was just there. I woke up and I was like, "I wanna talk about all the things that my grandmother taught me." I was like, "I just wanna talk about the fact that my grandmother would just she would just be like, "Make sure that, when you cook the salt pork, you wanna make sure it's bubbling. If it bubbles up right," like, just it's so funny because these are lessons that I think for so many of us, especially young Black girls, right?
Mhm.
They're just given to us.
Yeah.
They don't give them to the boys. They don't do that.
Mhm.
But for us, they do. And it was always we would just be sitting in her kitchen, and I feel like all day it would be like, "Well, when I made this growing up, this is what we did. And here's when I water my plants, I put a little sugar in them. And if I did this, and it was all this stuff that even today, now I have a house full of plants. I have now reduced my plants to 60 plants. I had 100 plants at one point. And every time I would take care of my plants, I would just think about my grandmother and how even though she had this tiny Section 8 apartment, it was full of plants. And she had one monstera that she had been growing since before I was born, and she cut a piece of it and gave it to my birth mother, and my birth mother still has that plant. She was growing it in a chitlin bucket. You hear me?
Love it. Ooh, I just had a flashback because my mother loves chitlins.
My mother loves chitlins, and my grandmother loved chitlins. and they would grow plants in chitlin buckets, you
In
know
the
what I'm saying?
buckets? Wow.
You know how hard it is for a plant to thrive in just plastic with
Yes.
no drainage? Okay. So I think, the title came to me because I just realized, oh my gosh, I want to catalog and archive all of these lessons. I just want to
Yeah.
catalog them. But I also want to tell this story because I want folks to stop thinking that Black feminism is inaccessible. Like the praxis
Mhm.
of Black feminism is inaccessible, right? Because we actually live it every single day. The number of Black women, queer folks, gender expansive people who will be like, well, this podcast doesn't exist. I'm going to have to create it.
Mhm.
This book hasn't been written. Guess I got to write it. Like the number of us who have said, this thing is not in the archive. Guess I have to do it, right? That is a form of Black feminist and queer praxis that we do not often recognize. Other people don't do that, right?
Right.
Other people are not thinking about when we're raising children, because a lot of us, even when they're not our children, are raising children. Other mothers are a thing, right? I tell
Mhm.
time like being child free, a lot of us say we're child free. We ain't child free. Like I have 3 kids, but I'm saying a lot of my child free friends are not child free because they're my kids' aunties and uncles. You know what I'm saying? Like I have nibblings all over the world, right? And so I just was trying to also encourage us all to see ourselves in how we move through the world. That's why it's an intimate history. It's Black women taught us an intimate history of Black feminism to say, we all live in such close proximity to Black
Yeah.
feminism when we move in community with Black women and gender expansive people who are doing this work.
Mm. It is so powerful what you're saying, and it's so, so true. You said something really quick that triggered me. Well, besides the chitlin bucket, because who I actually, and even that thought, I haven't thought about that. The
Yeah.
chitlin bucket, like the specific one that my grandma and my mama used in Alabama, like what that looks
Mhm,
like when she did. Like the last time I saw her cook chitlins, cleaning
mhm.
them
Mm.
and like moving like it's a whole trough. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I was like, the house is going to be smelling like this for days.
Woo.
I'm going to have to leave. But no, besides that, yeah, and just talking about like children. Yeah, because I have a godson. I'm Auntie Chelsea, and I wear it like a badge of honor. Like it's so real. And I had that same experience, even being an only child, yes, but really like so blessed to have great aunties, great uncles,
Mhm.
and also some of their friends becoming
Yes.
my aunties and uncles, and just being, so close to them, just growing up with, all these amazing, just extra people who you just
Mhm.
just felt like family and learning so much from them. And then, yeah, it's super hard for me though when because grief definitely hits me a lot as time goes by, and I've experienced loss with certain individuals that held those types of positions for me, especially my best friend, one of my best friends who I've had in my life since high school, and her mother passed
Mm.
some months ago. And she was like my mama,
Yeah.
and also for real was my homegirl
Yeah.
because we were just really tight like that. And I could have some conversations with her, and it just got better as I got older. Cause it's a little different when you're still stay in a child's place. I was very much like Alabama, stay in a child's place, raised like, this is Miss or
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
ma'am, always address them as such. So you always respectful. However, like as I got older, the relationship dynamic just blossomed. And so it's just always really hard for me when grief just kind of kicks me in the ass. And
Mm.
it does impact my social movement work, my
Yeah.
just being an organizer,
Yeah.
running a charity. It does impact that because I do want to there's moments when I just want to stop and just like sit in the grief for a little bit because I
Yeah.
don't want to, I don't want to ignore it. So I do want to know, like, is this work an emotional practice for you, or is it like a spiritual practice? Like
Mm.
if we're talking about even specifically like abolition work that you do, the work with your book, like being a writer, because I think all of this just kind of it intertwines. And it's because abolition work, I commend y'all because it's not just a political. No, I'm for real.
I hear
I'm for
you.
real because I'm a baby in this and that department. I'm always rooting for y'all, but I just know in all these different, like, they're not necessarily like categories, but just all these different there's so much that needs to be done. There's just so much work that needs to be done. So I just look at it like it's a political demand, but it's not just a political demand. So how, is this work spiritual for you? Is it
Mm.
emotional?
Yeah, I'm a mushy nigga. So for me,
Mm.
emotion
Come
the
on.
the emotional and the spiritual are wrapped up together, right? Like,
Got it. Got it.
I was raised in the Baptist church, and, even though I've moved away from the formal institution of religion and Christianity,
Okay.
I am a deeply spiritual person, right? Like, when the new year hits, I go feed the corners with black eyed peas. I believe in
Mhm.
conjure tradition. I have an entire altar to my right here.
Mhm.
My grandmother's ashes are on this altar. I speak to my father here. I speak to my aunts who have passed
Mhm.
here. I keep a candle lit here. I keep 3 cups of water in my family's glasses. I am very specific about the
Mhm.
traditions that I honor. You know, for me, I really do wish more Black folk, and I do think we are getting back to it, but I do wish
Mhm.
more Black folk would lean into the fact that so much of our emotional experiences on this land will also be rooted in our spiritual and ancestral selves, right? Like, I just finished Lindsay Stewart's book, The Conjuring of America, and I felt compelled.
Yes.
I was like, "I need to go grow something." It's snow outside, and I'm like, "I wanna go grow some collard greens," right? And I was like, I was like, I need some elderberries."
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
for me, all of this is wrapped together. In graduate school, they urge you to find your elevator pitch and, like, what's your thing, and I struggled with it so much because they want you to leave your identities at the door, and I couldn't do that and also figure out what I was doing, because
Yeah.
my whole goal as an academic is to tell true stories about what it means to be Black outside, right? I write about Black public life. I write about what it means for Black, queer, trans, disabled folks to navigate public spaces around people who want them dead, you know?
Yeah.
And that feels like spiritual praxis to me, right? Like, in writing this book, I had to call on my ancestors to give me strength to
Mhm.
tell these true stories, right? I can't write about Ida B. Wells and not call her into the room and say, "Ida, please let me do you justice." As I was writing the chapter on bell hooks, she had just recently passed away, and my grandmother had just recently passed away.
Mm.
And so I wrote that chapter, the 11th chapter, sobbing, like, just crying. It was
Mm.
just crying because there was something happening to my body where the grief was changing me, right? It was a cathartic moment where I had to forgive myself for being imperfect, for not loving perfectly, for not being the perfect abolitionist, for not showing up in movements perfectly, right? There's this urge to always be doing the right thing, the best thing, to be active even when I'm tired, to push myself, right? And I had written this whole book about honoring Black women and showing up for Black women, but then here I am, a Black woman, and I wasn't showing up for myself. So then I went through the grief of that, right? So for me, all of those things are wrapped up and interconnected and entangled and bound up together. And I think that's, in my opinion, what good writing should be like. I don't think we should be writing emotionless. I don't think we should be
Mhm.
in movements emotionless. I don't think we should be an abolitionist emotionless. You know,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think we should have feelings for one another.
Yes.
You know, I don't believe in being objective and unbiased in this work, right? The work of creating a more liberatory and freer future is something I feel very passionately about. And I know that my father and my grandmother and the folks, all the aunts who passed away in the past few years, some of them due to COVID-19 and some of them due to a lack of access because of the stresses of COVID-19 on hospitals, right? I had aunts who had cancer and other diagnoses, and because of the poor outlay of resources from the US government, were not able to get the health services that they needed during those early years. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
for me, the grief the emotion, the spirituality, the calling on my ancestors, calling them into the room, all of that is wrapped up together. This is why on the first leg of the book tour, at every single book talk, I had a spiritual practitioner come into the room, ground the space, and call in the ancestors.
Mm,
I was like, I don't even feel comfortable talking about this book if everyone in this room
I
doesn't
know
know what
that's
we're here
right.
to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everyone in this room is not here on the same accord, I don't want to talk to y'all.
Yeah.
You know? And I think maybe that's for some people just too woo woo, it's too much. And that's okay too. I actually don't care. I did not write a book for play play. This book
Mhm.
was written for my ancestors and to them, and so that they would feel honored and that they would feel proud.
Yeah. It's not too woo-woo for me because I would have been like, that's what I'm pull out my mojo bag, pull out my
Right.
holy water, like, because everything is so dry. And it's so much capitalism in
Mm,
everything. It's everywhere. So I'm always looking for that breath of fresh air, this just that
yeah.
all the time, which is why
Yeah.
I love even creating this podcast. Like, I just love talk to people because it just gives them a different space
Yeah.
than having to do that campaign shit, especially when
Mhm.
coming out with a book about this work and what we're doing. So it's I get it. I appreciate you for saying that and letting folks know like where you stand so they understand what it is.
That's right.
And I think from what you're saying, I understand that you take this responsibility seriously. And yeah, I think a lot of us we lose that.
Mhm.
And we can lose it because of capitalism, supremacy,
Go
even
ahead,
like
talk
with
about
the
it.
church, even with the church, and we're just not connecting or centered in what we've been taught, even from our own ancestors, even from just the groundwork that's been laid out for us. And I get it, like we have distractions, folks need to make money, folks got to survive. Folks are in survival mode. I totally get that, but you take this responsibility so seriously. So I'm curious to like your thoughts on what other people can do or how other folks can also follow follow what you've laid out, like listeners, scholars, even community organizers, community members,
Yeah.
like to practice what has been taught to us.
Mhm.
And what does that responsibility look like? And also to not just cite it.
Mm.
Citing is important though, yeah.
Mhm.
Citing is very important. But yeah, I was gonna say, like, just give us some like your thoughts, like what to do because yeah, I lose sight of that sometimes. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
lie.
I mean, I will be honest and say I got my start before academia. I got my start with like writing and community organizing. Like that's where I come from. And so, most of my cues come from there.
Mhm.
Academics are terrible. Just to be frank, academia does not reward us engaging with our full sensibilities, our humanity and dignity. It just doesn't, right? Folks get awarded in academia for plagiarizing, stealing, co opting, watering down, erasing. In my field, in political science, they never even want to tenure Black people, but they will tenure people who will write articles about whether or not shark attacks predict voting behavior.
Mm.
Okay. So that should give you an indication of what's happening in academia. But I take my cues from organizers and folks who came, and this is not to say that all academia is the same, because again,
Mhm.
I am in academia, but my roots come from somewhere else. And there are many of us like that, right? I say that some of us are marooned in certain spaces. Like some of us are marooned in white coded and white centered publishing, right? I happen to be at a big five publisher. It shocks me every day. It shocks me every day that Penguin Random House would want to publish a book with all these black ass women with afros and nappy hair on the cover. Listen, amazing, right?
Yes.
Not the norm, right? And so, to be clear, I'm not saying we're not in these spaces,
Mhm.
but it does not mean we are of these spaces, right? And so, my training comes from young people in Chicago. I have to always give them credit. I have to give them credit. 'Cause I grew up in Oakland, so I always had proximity to organizing. I grew up in the home of the Black Panther Party for self-defense, and so we were just raised with that kind of ethos. My father was a Black Panther. I just had friends and family who we just kinda spoke in ways that people just knew. My mother and her cousins benefited from the free breakfast program for the Black Panther Party, so
Mhm.
these were just things we knew. Angela Davis was down the street at Santa Cruz. We would just see her. You know what I'm saying? So, like, these were just normative things growing up. And so I'm realizing now as I'm older and I'm separated from my community that that was really a gift. That was really a
Mhm.
gift that I probably took for granted. Everyone does not grow up in such a radical and revolutionary space as I did, especially things around queerness and disability. Everybody was a little gay. Everybody was a little gay. Everybody was a little trans. Like, it was just not a big thing. Like, it was just what it was. And you live in California, so you understand what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
queerness on the West Coast is very different than queerness on the East Coast.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I grew up in that. And so I will say that some of it is a cultural socialization that just I
Yeah.
had access to. But what I will say is that I was radicalized in Chicago. That's where I was radicalized. That's where I learned kind of the formal infrastructure, and the processes of being an organizer. I was in BYP 100, and I got to watch folks organize through Asada's Daughters. I got to be there in the early days of the awful killing of Michael Brown, and I watched the organizing happening in Ferguson, the Ferguson Uprising. I was a part of some of the core teams after the killing of Laquan McDonald. Like, these were things where I learned what a FOIA request was. Like, I learned about Chicago torture trials, right? I learned about things that I would not have learned anywhere else in the country, right? Chicago has a very unique relationship to policing and abolition, and I'm so grateful to have been there. So what I will say is, I think it's at the intersections of my childhood socialization training, growing up in the church that I grew up in with a whole lot of very, very Black people who were also very radical, right? So, we didn't have a church where you couldn't be gay. My Uncle Donald is extremely
Period.
gay and extremely polyamorous, okay? His boyfriend sings in the choir next to him, and he plays the keyboard and leads Sunday choir. You hear what I'm saying? My Uncle Donald was singing for Daryl Coley, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it was, right? And
Very
so
Black,
very Black,
okay? And
right? And
very
also
queer.
very radical, very queer, and so I will say it's the intersection of that with the radicalization that I was trained in Chicago, and so in terms of what people can do, I don't like this idea of the individual. It's always to
Mhm.
me community. If you notice, what I'm saying is that I got this from other places. I got this from community. I got this from being in community with other Black folk, right? And so there are radical spaces and sites of revolutionary praxis that we can build with one another, and get engaged with one another. And I think that, unfortunately, to your point, there is this effort toward this kind of capitalistic introspection and individualism, laissez faire capitalism that says we're all just going to do what we want and it'll just work out because Adam Smith says that this invisible hand that will just lead everything. Bullshit, y'all. Trickle down economics is not real, and the invisible hand is not invisible, it's white. You know what I'm saying? We have
Mhm.
to stop this, right? And so
Mhm.
I I am explicitly allergic to these concepts of individualism as a mechanism to free Black folk from
Yeah.
white heteropatriarchal capitalistic oppression. And so if it's not based in community, as Miriam Kawa tells us, right, it's not really worth doing.
Okay, Imma wrap this podcast right now because, baby, everything was said. Everything was said. That just fed me. You just said so much. Imma run some of this back. Okay. I wanna touch on the Black Panther Party, the current state, this new party, your thoughts on that, because I have some thoughts, and some people
Yeah.
may fuck with it, some people may not, but hey, these are my thoughts. I also want to talk about what you mentioned as far as like citing, as far as the plagiarism. And because I've seen people try you a couple times, and I sip tea, got your drink. Black Panther Party, the current, for me, I'm not interested in any movement, any political movement, party, organization that does not have a Black woman, Black non-binary person, gender expansive person. I'm tired of men being the leaders.
Mm.
And so when it comes to the Black Panther Party, from my knowledge, and I want to express this as someone where you grew up in it, as far as, you know what I'm saying, and you were able, your witnessing is different from mine. Your witnessing is deep. So from my standpoint, someone who has read, admired, just has been completely inspired by the women. I can name the women. I
Yeah.
can't really name the men.
Yeah.
I can name maybe no, I can't name the men. I can't really. I'm not, I don't wanna always, like, go, like, sure, like, Bobby Seals, I don't wanna always, like, go the people that folks just know, but
Yeah.
because I'm always reading
Yeah.
the thoughts and experiences of the women, so when
Yeah.
certain men are mentioned, most of the time it's a negative experience, but
Yeah.
hey, it's a mentioning where, like, they had to be checked, they
Yep.
had to be,
Yep.
tell them to be quiet and listen all the time. And I think about Afeni Shakur all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love her book that Jasmine Guy did, is one of my favorite
Mhm.
books, and it really just broke my heart when she talked about, um, the women being ignored, the women being told to shut the fuck up and just do. And then, but these little sparks and moments where the women just did the shit
They did.
and made it happen.
Yeah.
And then it taken all of that, all of this just resistance, the resistance within the resistance movement, and how they had to just go through so much to be heard. And then
Yeah.
finally, when they were listened to, then shit popped off
Yeah.
with these programs that we still talk about, these programs that
Yes.
we have a manifesto of,
That's
like, the things
correct.
that we could do, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that breaks my heart, and I hold a little bit of disappointment there
Mhm.
for them in spirit, for those that are still living, especially for Afeni Shakur and
Mm.
all that she has done, that too many folks don't know enough about,
Mhm.
from the patient forms, patient bill of rights,
Mhm.
to these food programs, to you representing yourself in court,
Mhm.
to you going against the government, the police,
That's right.
and what that looks like, and having to take men
That's
down
right.
in order for you to do that. So when I see this, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone that has decided to join the new Black Panther Party and be behind this brother that has taken this lead. I just don't want no parts, because I want women to
Mhm.
be the center point. Yeah, I just
Mhm.
had to say that, because it's like, I want the progress. I want to see the organization. I want to see the progress. Sure, have the things, teach people how to defend themselves. I love going to the gun range. Do you understand me?
Sure, me
I'm
too.
all for. I love, I love the
Yeah.
self-defense classes, making sure people are fed, making sure people have health insurance,
Absolutely.
they are able to advocate for themselves in hospital settings or any type of healthcare settings. I want all the things, but I'm tired of men leading the movements.
Well, I mean, I'm an academic, so Imma wrap these 2 things together.
Word.
I think that this new Black Panther Party and this conversation on plagiarism and citation are actually wrapped up together.
Mm.
And this is another reason why I wrote my book, because part of Black Women Taught Us is an effort for me to model the citational ethics that I would hope that folks would employ when engaging with the work and the words and the wisdom of our Black women elders and ancestors who have already laid the groundwork for us, right? And so when I think about this new Black Panther Party, right, I always have the same questions. Whenever I engage with movement folks, And I learned these questions from elders in movement. The questions that they always ask me: who raised you in movement? Who mentored you in movement? What is your genealogy? And what is your political philosophy and praxis? What is your worldview? These are the questions that folks like, Kathy Cohen, who is my advisor, who got her start in New York with the Audre Lorde Project, who was at the helm of the convening of 100 Black youth in Chicago in 2013 that led to the creation of these mass movements before the movement for Black Lives, right? Barbara Ransby has asked similar questions, and I hope folks who are watching know who Barbara Ransby is. Like, Barbara Ransby has written incredible books on the movement for Black Lives. She's an incredible historian. She has given us some of the most iconic wisdom on Ella Baker's, work with SNCC. And so, when I talk to, and I had the honor, it almost like changed my whole life because look again, crushes. I got to have an interview with Erica Huggins last year and almost lost it. I was like, "You're Erica Huggins, and you're just standing here talking to me." And she was like, "You are just so darling. I like you, Jen." I was like, "I'm dead. I'm gonna die. This is it. I'm done. My life is over. I don't care what nobody's saying. Erica Huggins likes me, right?" But this is the thing: is that for me, a new Black Panther Party cannot, in in earnest exist if not tethered to and rooted in the genealogy of the Black Panther women who actually are still alive today. They standing here right now. They're alive.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what people don't seem to understand is that in Oakland, in the Bay Area, the Black Panther Party was like 75, 80% women.
Mhm.
And that was who was running the Black Free Breakfast program because those women had children. And those Black Panther children are also a continuation in that movement history. I had a talk with Malkia David Cyril last weekend, who is the product of that genealogy. Her mother was a critical player in Oakland during that era who helped to keep the Black Panther Party afloat. And so, to my knowledge, this new Black Panther Party has not tapped the wisdom of these folks who are alive today. This is the same critique I have had of Mr. Ibram Kendi, right? Like, this idea that you are writing books about how to be an anti-racist when Angela Davis is sitting right there, right there, and has written extensively about
Yeah.
anti-racism and its rootedness in capitalism and gender oppression, and you don't even engage. That's
Yeah.
my problem, right?
Yeah.
That's my problem. And so when people try me with this citational issue, I always call it out. I'll drag you for filth. I will take that one little hair on the edge and I will grab it and then I will twist it twice and then I'll pull you by it. I don't care. I will drag you up and down. I don't care how far I got to drag you. Tanzania, let's go, right? I'll drag you to Ghana. We'll drag you across the ocean, boo boo. We're going, right? Because for me, especially if it's another queer Black person, because
Mhm.
for me, it's like at this point in the era of Google, we know better. And at this point, it's intentional. At this
Mhm.
point, there are those of us who have been doing this work long enough where we can tell the difference, right? There are some folks who just don't know any better, right? We could tell. But there are other folks who, like I said, I don't know this young man from this new Black,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But there are moments where you can see how the work is being executed. I don't like giving a lot of credit to I'm gonna give another example. I don't like giving a lot of credit to Colin Kaepernick,
Mhm. Got
mainly
it.
mainly because he light skinned.
Mhm. Got it.
However, Colin Kaepernick, but people might not know, Colin Kaepernick has spent years going around the country
Country.
visiting individual movement organizations, sitting in rooms quietly, not saying a word, and listening and asking, what does your organization need? How can we show up? What is it that we can do better?
Yeah.
How can I? That is the work. It's the work that is not on social media.
Yeah.
You don't need nobody getting information and putting on the berets and wearing the black and taking a picture and sending it to
Yeah.
Evans, right? Like, that's not the work. The work is often what happens in strategy meetings on Tuesday
Yeah,
nights, late when we are all tired after work, right?
yeah,
The work is often what happens when people are, co-opting it and plagiarizing it and posting it
yeah.
online to go viral, right? That is the work. And I have not seen that from these young people.
Mhm,
I'm 41 now, and I'm an auntie, so I like to call everybody a young person. When it comes to this kind of citational issues and
mhm.
co-optation and plagiarism, to me, they're all a part of the same problem, right? This kind of radical individualism that everyone has where they have to be the savior, right? They wanna come out and that to me is an ethic that is rooted in whiteness. It's very white coded. It's, this, the white savior complex, this heroism complex. A lot of Black men who subscribe to misogyny and patriarchy are very much wrapped up in it, right? "Y'all need me. Black men are the protectors," and meanwhile, women Black women and gender expansive people are the most unprotected in society, right?
Yeah,
Every few minutes, another Black woman is killed by her intimate partner,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I see a lot of this as extremely performative.
Mhm. Thank you for
And those of
saying
us
this
who
word.
do the work, right? Those of us who do the work, we know it when we see it. We know
Yeah,
it when we see it.
we
And
know
so
it when we see it.
right, when Erica
It's
Huggins
so obvious.
buys off on this
It's
Black yeah, when Erica Huggins buys off in this Black Panther Party, then we'll talk. When Angela Davis does, when Malkia
yeah,
Earl does, when living Black, queer women,
yeah,
gender expansive people start saying, "Oh, yeah, this is the work I remember," then we can talk
mhm,
about it. But until then, to me, it's just another they
yeah.
look like a dance troupe to me.
And there's we I also wanna mention the political prisoners that
Mhm,
are still incarcerated,
mhm.
um, the ones who we've lost even in recent years.
That's right.
Them going home and passing away 6, 9 months later,
That's
a
right.
year later, and no one really acknowledging the work that they put in. Yeah, it's so I do appreciate the conversation getting going. I appreciate the discussions. I
Sure.
appreciate the true effort. But yeah, I just every time I see that, every time I see them, every time I see anything dealing with Black Panther Party, I've I I grieve Afeni
But
Shakur.
also, what people don't realize,
Mhm.
there was more than one Black Panther Party.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the other part is, like, I also just want people to read more. Like, I just want people
Mhm.
and I know a lot of this is redacted, and I'm lucky that in academia, you have access to stuff that folks don't have access to.
Yeah, for sure.
But, there are archives, you can go into the libraries of Congress. There are places to learn about what they have done to the Black Panthers and to the various Black Panthers. There's 2 Black Panther parties, and Angela Davis was a member of one, and then there was a Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and they were both antagonistic toward one another for
I
different
don't know.
reasons, right? And part of this conversation that concerns me is that when they say that they're the new Black Panther Party, I'm like, "Who? Which one? Based on what principles? What are we even talking about?" Right? Like, that's the other way that for me, as someone who also studies movements,
Mhm.
my next one of my future books is gonna be on this evolution of movements and what it looks like in this moment. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was very intersectional in nature, right? Like, very rooted in gender politics, even though some of the leaders were terrible, right? Very rooted in disability politics, very
Mhm.
abolitionist oriented, right? So even when folks show up and say, "This is the new Black Panther Party," you can tell a tree by its fruit. Right? And so if you show up and there are no queer and gender expansive people, and there are no women, and there are no disabled people, then that tells me that you're not even rooted in the actual fundamental ethics of the organization. So how can you actually be a new version of it? This is regressive.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to bust. Processing, because I truly did not I didn't wanna be online just talking to be talking, so I was just like, "Yeah, nah, I'm not rocking with this." So I appreciate, like, everything that you just said and just this what you just held for me because I didn't have no one to talk to about it. It was just one of those things where, like, just in my mind, like, "Okay, let me do what I do."
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, and just move on. So that was yeah, that was great. And yeah, you just fed my soul as far as how you intertwined it all when we're talking about co-opting plagiarism and not citing people, not pulling people in, not being resourceful
Mhm,
and by going to the source
mhm,
that's still here.
mhm.
Yeah, and that's so important. Especially now, like, we're in this digital social movement age. We're in the thick of the beginnings, but I actually feel like we're really in the thick of AI shifting a lot
Yeah,
for our community, as in regards to just racism,
yeah,
biases, access or lack thereof,
yeah,
and um and misinformation and disinformation.
yeah,
And it's really scary. Sure, like we can think and talk about the positives, but I just want to acknowledge
yeah,
where we are in trouble.
yeah,
And it doesn't help us when we are not honoring each other as far
right,
as the work
that's right,
the work that we've
right,
done
that's right,
for each other. It really doesn't help us whatsoever. To me, it just feels like it's just gonna go around in a circle. It kind of reminds me of like the poverty cycle within the
mhm,
nonprofit sector, the poverty cycle that we talk about. Like you just give, you just give people the fish instead of teaching them how to
that's
fish
right,
and also providing that education and letting them like go into the source. Like, how do we do this? When do we do this?
that's
What do
right,
you need?
that's
And
right,
let's just give this to people so they also know how to do this
that's right.
when it's right to do it. And
I wanna
yeah,
I wanna ask them real short on this,
hmm,
because as an educator in my classroom, that is what I'm seeing, right? I have been in the classroom. I was an adjunct professor before I was an assistant professor, and so I taught
okay.
in California at Cal State Fullerton back in 2011. Watching, these generations of folks losing knowledge, not knowing what the Haitian Revolution is, not actually even knowing anything about how Barack Obama was elected and what the kind of arguments were around post-racialism, right? And so when we talk about Black Power and Stokely Carmichael, and we go back and we talk about the civil rights era and ask them questions about, who was Emmett Till, and they don't know. They don't know. And so when we move into this social media moment, this AI moment where everything is individualistic, I'm the hero, I'm the savior, this is the new version, and we don't honor the genealogy and the history. Meanwhile, we are dealing with an administration in the White
Hmm.
House that wants to wipe out our history, remove us from museums, get rid of critical race theory, and shut down our departments at colleges. We are also complicit in that when we create and truncate these movements and these moments as if we started everything, right? Our plagiaristic co-optive efforts actually then play into these larger white supremacist and anti-Black moments because we're also not honoring our own traditions, right? Again, that's why I wrote this book. That's why I tried to honor. That's why at the end of this book, there's a
Hmm.
bibliography.
Hmm.
Like, I have an
Hmm.
extensive bibliography to say, "Look, y'all, yeah, there's some new stuff in here from me, but just know, here's where I come from," right? Here are the people who raised me in this work, and
Yep.
I just want more of us to do that. I want more of us to do that because if we don't, we will lose it.
Do you think it's not happening or we're not doing that because of there not being any love there?
I think there's a few reasons. I think the first reason, if I'm being honest with you, as a Black woman, as someone who reads to the world as a normative Black woman, a lot of it is because people just don't give a shit what Black women have to say. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like, I've been in academia long enough and on social media long enough, 20 years now since Facebook started, where a Black woman will say something, and then a Black man will say it, and somehow the Black man will be on a billboard in Times Square for saying the same thing, literally the same thing, right? And we have to, as a Black community, sit with what that is and call it out. It's It's problematic, it's dangerous, and it's also now affecting the livelihoods of Black women and gender expansive people because we're being pushed out of industries that we used to lead because people would rather hear Black men, white women, and white men parroting our ideas. So there's that. I think the second part is that folks are really enjoying proximity to whiteness in this moment.
Yeah, yeah.
I think times are tough. I think that when times get tougher, we see retrenchment. Folks, unfortunately, will often regress to what is comfortable and what is easier, and the status quo will always be easier. It's very hard to be a revolutionary when you gotta figure out how to feed yourself, right?
That
It's
part.
more risk there. And whenever folks have to move away from revolutionary acts, the folks they leave behind are the most vulnerable people. And then the last thing is that these tech giants are commodifying, are cannibalizing on one another. The algorithm wants us to fight, right? I will post something like, "Look at my beautiful plants." And they're like, "Nah, we don't like that." I'm like, "Look at this book I read." And they're like, "Nah, we don't like that." And I'll be like, "Ugh, this person shouldn't have got married." And it goes viral.
Yeah, yeah.
We
My
have to be
partner makes fun of me
thoughtful.
so My partner makes fun of me all the time because he's, when we're posting about happy period and the work that we're doing, and it 5, 10 likes
Yeah,
max,
yeah.
and he's always posting and resharing. But let me talk about some anti-black shit that I just witnessed.
Everybody pops up.
They're all the crackers
All they cousins.
are center stage, like ready. I'm like,
The other day, I
uh,
posted that I didn't like cats. I posted that I didn't like cats, and it's not true. I like cats. Cats are fine. I just don't like the stuff they do, right? It's like, don't wake me up out my sleep. Don't put your dirty booty paws on the counter. Like, I don't there's certain things I don't like. Let me tell you, like, I was posting about ice and all this stuff about ice and, you know,
yeah.
and everybody was like, "Hmm." I said, "You know what? Cats be dirty." People was like, "Oh, you should never. I hope you never get a
You
partner.
need to leave.
Oh, I hope you remain single for the rest of your life. You don't deserve." I'm like, "You don't deserve joy." I was like,
Right?
"Dang, my God.
It's
Cats, y'all?
disturbing. Right, cats, not humans, not the death
Cats. We're not okay. We're
not
not
the
okay.
death of an innocent Black man at the hands of ICE.
Come on." And they were like, "You know what? You should be posting about other stuff. We have other things going on." I'm like, "I did, but also I don't like cats." I'm allowed to hold multiple thoughts simultaneously, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is the equivalent of someone saying, "Hey, shut up." And I just every day is moving in this body in the world and on social media. I'm like, "Do y'all hear yourselves?" People will literally say, "Well, I would like to hear this, just not from you." They'll say it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "You hear what you know that's weird, right? Like, you know that's weird to say what you're saying, I like it, but I don't wanna hear from a Black woman. I don't wanna
Yeah.
hear from a queer woman. I don't wanna hear from a disabled woman. I don't wanna hear these things from you."
It's so draining. Even as a straight, okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm tired of us. I'm tired of us.
I am too, child.
I'm tired of us. And yeah, because I want to hear from those that I do not get to hear enough of. I wanna see them. Yeah, and I see it all the time where, ooh, especially with, within the menstrual equity movement, talking about pretty
Mhm.
never see folks with disabilities in that conversation, and I always mention it. I never see
Mhm.
that. I never see them mention in the conversation about accessibility, affordability when it comes to, like, just them having basic essentials, product design, product innovation. Like, yo, the tampon has just reached some type of innovation with
Come on.
a brand that's providing, lubricant for
Wow.
folks. Yeah,
Amazing.
like, just now getting there. Just now getting to, within the last 10, 15 years, a panty that's now a period
Right.
panty. Like, we're just now getting there, but there's never any never a moment where folks are, like, centering them or thinking about them, and
Right.
I always bring this up because it's like people are right there and they also have their struggles. If I have my struggles, like, I know that there's someone that's like, "I need this to change."
That's the other see, this is the other part. This is the other part, and this is what I really sit with a lot now as
Hmm.
someone who grew up with 2 narcissistic parents, who has late diagnosed ADHD, and has been a people pleaser my whole life. I also want us to sit with the ways that our socialization around who deserves pain and
Mm.
who should normalize harm shapes our interactions with ourselves and our bodies and with others, right? Like, even I had open heart surgery last year. It was my 2nd open heart surgery. It was horrible and painful, and the thing I had to really get comfortable with was being like, "I am in pain. Ouch. I can't do that. Can someone help me?" Right? Like, I had to get comfortable with saying, "I need help." And tampons, if you think about it, that's part of this larger thing. Women should just sit there and jam this dry ass, hard and I'm old. So I had to use them before they even had applicators. The non
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, the idea we should just do that, right? Because we have vulvas, so we should just have to deal with this pain, right? Like, that's something I also really wanna challenge in my work and in how I show up in the world, like, this idea that some of us should just move through the world in a state of constant harm. Right? Because of who we are. "Oh, well, you complain too much." Like, somehow Black women are complaining too much. Meanwhile, 600, 750,000 are being pushed out of employment. We have a lot to fucking complain about.
yeah,
We should be real mad. We should be burning this shit down. You know what I'm saying? The idea that Black women should just be in the house cooking for a man and having sex with a man because that's what a man wants right now and being quiet to me is nuts. It's actually nuts. Like, that's what I've had to kind of disabuse myself of as I've gotten older, which is the world actually wants to drive us mad, right? I think a lot about Lauryn Hill and her Unplugged album and how she's like, "Actually, y'all trying to make me crazy," right? This is what she says, right? Like, I'm the way I'm reacting makes sense. What y'all are doing to me
thank you.
is nuts, and I have a right to feel a way about it.
Mhm,
And y'all asking me to be silent about my pain is actually the part that is actually wild, right? Zora said the same thing. They'll kill you
mhm,
and say you enjoyed it. And that's what they're asking us to do. They are asking us to die and be complicit in our own deaths and just be quiet about it.
yeah.
And I just I refuse. June Jordan said, "Nah, I gotta be a menace to my enemies." And that's what I want. I wanna be a menace. I'm like, I hope y'all are really mad. I hope I make your ass itch.
Okay.
I hope you hear my name and you like, "Ugh." I just hope, I just, "Ugh," I just I hope you think of me and you just feel like you smell something. I just hope you just get mad. Because what? I'm not gonna be over here miserable because of you. That is nuts. I refuse. I refuse.
My ancestors did not go through the bullshit that they go through and kept going for me to just be basic.
Nah, nah. I refuse. I'm trying to be like Toni Morrison. That radical refusal. Like,
Mhm.
that "How did you get my number?" refusal. That, like, "I'm not coming and I'm already at this interview, but I'm not finna smile." That Prince refusal. "Imma come
Yeah.
perform, but Imma chew gum." That's who I'm trying to be for the rest of my
Like,
life.
what? Excuse me? Freedom. To
Yeah,
me, that's true freedom.
that's right. Living on my own terms.
Mhm.
And we just don't do enough of it, and I'm tired of us feeling like we're not allowed to. I want us to
Yeah.
give ourselves permission to do that. So, that's the goal.
Yeah. Can you leave us with first of all, thank you. This has been so good because we touched on so much, even when the hope feels fragile. I want you to leave us with this. What wisdom from Black women's histories helps you stay committed to your freedom, even
Mm.
when the hope feels fragile, even when There's so much anti-Blackness, even when it comes from your own community. What wisdom can you give us?
Yeah, I mean, so the only person whose words are tattooed on my body are Audre Lorde's. I have a sleeve here, and I have 2 quotes from her. I have the quote of her saying, "If I didn't define myself for myself, I'd be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive." And on my forearm, I have a quote from my favorite poem of hers, where she says, "It is better to speak knowing we were never meant to survive." And I think in terms of wisdom, I want to leave with the words of Audre Lorde and kind of what they mean, right? So much of what Lorde writes about is her effort to give herself permission to live, right? It's about her effort. She tried so hard until the day she died to give herself permission to live. Even as a child, she grew up with blindness and, very strict parents who were like, "You gotta get good grades." She couldn't even see, right? She I think all the time that she had to have some type of disability because she didn't even speak
Mhm,
for years
mhm.
as a child, right? And I think about that all the time because it resonates so much for me, of my experiences with blindness and just, speech and all of this stuff, and I see it also in my daughter. And I think about how hard it is sometimes for those of us at these multiple intersections of identity to just live. And so now at 41, I'm like, every day I'm asking myself, like, what does it look like today if I just decide to just live on my own terms, if I just decide to live, right? If I don't use anybody else's script for me today, if I give myself permission not to over explain, or to over adjust, or to put on drag and to over show up and to try to impress and to say words that I think people want to hear. And I'm like, what does it look like if I actually just exist today in a way that feels good for me? And when I tell you that's some of the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Because when you spent your whole life masking and you spent your whole life performing so that you can seem normal or fit in or be liked or be protected or cared for and still didn't get those things, right? There's a dissonance there. And so I think the wisdom I can leave for folks, especially on this kind of podcast, right, about like telling the truth about our bodies. For me, the truth that I've had to tell has been to myself. We talk about telling the truth to everyone else so much, but I want us to spend more time telling the truth to ourselves, giving ourselves permission to be full and complete human beings and to move in our dignity, right? That to me is the hardest work, and so I
Yes.
I don't have the answer. I'm not perfect at it yet. I'm still
Mhm.
working it out in therapy. Like, this is why my ass is single. This is why I ain't got no girlfriend, because I've been working so hard on this, and I want more of us to, in earnest, take up that work of showing up for ourselves and moving in our own dignity for ourselves so that we can model that behavior for others.
Thank you so much. I know you're working on yourself. You look amazing. I'm so glad you are still here. And I remember
Thank you.
when you were going through your surgery, when you were prepping and you just sharing that, I was like, wow, they're sharing this online. They're keeping us informed. And I don't even know like your reasoning behind that. Like even as a person like I where I share, like, talking about fibroids and periods, and folks are like, "Oh my god, why are you sharing?" I'm like, I wanna help someone else.
Yeah,
I need to, like, destigmatize this,
that's exactly why.
and
Yeah.
mm, yeah, 'cause it was just so beautiful to a little anxiety, but so beautiful to see
Yeah.
to see you make it to make it out of it and to see where you are now. So happy for you, so grateful.
Thank
And
you.
I thank you. I thank you for this book. If you have not blessed your soul with this read, I don't know what's going on with you. I mean, it's a lot going on. Yes, I get it. Things are
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, yeah.
However, tap into some joy, tap into some inspiration through this book, Black Woman Taught Us. Jen Jackson, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. Thank you. You're working on Okay, now you said you had some books that you in re it's in the vault. So, you pulling one of them out soon, or what we doing?
Okay. So I actually got some news today. I'm very excited. So my first academic book has moved to the next stage of publishing. Academic publishing is ridiculous. It takes forever. But I did get some incredible news today, and we are in the final stages of my next book. It's called
Nice.
Policing Blackness. This is the book that I went around the country for a few years and interviewed 100 young Black people to ask them about threat and what it means to move in public space. It's an
Mm.
abolitionist text. It's the culmination of 6 to 8 years of my labor as an academic, and it's a huge text for me, so I'm excited about that. I also wrote my memoir last year, and it whooped my ass. I was not ready for that. I was not
Ah,
ready for that, but that one, is Imma just tell you the name. I ain't told nobody the name yet, but it's called
exclusive.
Maternal, and it's called Maternal, A Memoir of Inheritance. And it is a letter to my mother, to my birth mother, and it walks through our entire life together, all the details of my childhood. I had a very complicated childhood. I was put out of the house in high school, which started an intermittent moment of unhoused life for me, which led to sex trafficking and a whole lot of stuff that people just do not know. And I've sat quietly and silently and held it in my body for decades, and this is a part of me, again, living on my own terms, and I'm like, "I don't have to do that," right? And so the text really is it's a letter to my mother, but it's also to little me, um, and to the girl I was in high school and in elementary school and as a child who was very, very lonely and very scared, to invite her back in to my life. Those 2 are the closest to coming out. I have a couple other books that I'm working on. I have a sci-fi trilogy that I'm working on. Yeah, and another academic book, and some actually anthologies that I have working on too. Y'all gonna be seeing me for the next few, I don't know, decade. Listen, I'm a writing ass Negro.
Right, I see. I already knew, but I see, you are really tapping in. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
proud of you. You are doing the work
Yeah.
in so many ways for your community, for us as a people, for humans.
Mm,
I'm so proud of you.
thank
Thank you
you.
for the work that you're doing. Thank you for continuing. Yeah, I believe in you. It's
Thank
just
you.
it's so beautiful to see where you are, and I know this is just the beginning.
Child, listen, I'm already tired, so listen, these
I get it.
books will be whooping my behind, so,
Yeah, yeah, no.
I can't help it. I'm a Virgo, I'll be in these streets. Listen, so,
Yes.
yeah, you
No,
gonna be
I
seeing
I
me.
understand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, well, y'all know what to do. Listen, and also the books are coming, but Black Women Taught Us. Tap into that right now. And don't forget their podcast.
That's
We
right.
publish, beloved.
New season is racking up right now. I'm doing my interviews now, so new season of We Publish Beloved will be out in April, May. New season of That Black Couple will be out around the same time. So, yeah,
Woo,
we're cooking,
perfect.
we're cooking.
I see. Cooking. Thank you again, Jen. I appreciate you. Thank you so, so, so much. I hope everybody enjoyed this as much as I did. I'm full.
Me too.
I'm so full.
I'm so
I'm
glad we
so
did
full.
this.
Yes, and gonna do another one because now we got more books to to promote.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yes, yes, which you know what? We wrapping this up because we gonna kiki online because that's just what we do because we're this my crush, so I gotta put it in. I gotta get it in. Yes, let's do it. All right, y'all. Y'all been listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist. Whew, covered by spirit, guided by blood. I'm so full. Until next time.